and welcome back to the FPL Tom YouTube channel. In today's video, we're going to be running through my transfer targets ahead of the midweek FPL Game Week 14. We're also going to be discussing how my free hit went and, of course, when I'm going to play my triple captaincy chip. Now, of course, before we dive into today's video, if you do enjoy any of the content that you see on the channel, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe as we're closing in on 22,000 subscribers. It'd be absolutely amazing if we could hit that marker before the end of the season. And yeah, really kind of, celebrate what has been a great 2025 in style. As you can see on screen right now, I did play my free hit and, the Arsenal game is still going off while I'm filming this, but what a successful week it has been. The Gakpo 14-pointer, the Foden 15-pointer, Thiago 13-pointer as well. That double Aston Villa clean sheet. Honestly, this week has absolutely smashed it out of the park. So I'm really glad I went with this team. Of course, there were a few variations as well that we were playing around with on the deadline stream if you were there as well. Some had Dango in, some had Bruno in as well. So yeah, it could have been, maybe a little bit of a better week, but still, I'm really, really lucky. I'm really grateful for the position we're in. As you can see, the live rank is just constantly changing at the moment while the Arsenal game is taking place. But obviously, post subs 126, a big rank change of 405. Obviously, unless like Saka and Timber massively go off, we're probably going to be still in a very, very good position. We've not only broke into that top 500k, we've absolutely smashed through the barrier as well. So it was a great week to free hit. So fair play if you took on obviously the challenge like myself. And I think this is a marker for obviously future free hits as well, is to really test and obviously challenge yourself and go for those sides that do have the best fixtures. Like we've seen this week, City had a great fixture. Brentford had a great fixture, Liverpool had a great fixture, and that has been the bulk of this team, and they've all done exceptionally well. Now, of course, there is variance and luck that can go into single game weeks where those teams might not do well, but if you're still yet to play your free hit, look to just target the best teams, in my opinion, and probably look to be a little bit kind of, risk-taking and risk kind of positive for it in my eyes. Take some gambles, go for some players that you think are going to do exceptionally well. I know some people went with the triple Villa defense, it worked absolutely wonders. Some people obviously went with the triple Brentford attack as well, that also worked absolutely stupendously. So that was my advice for people going further forward. Probably look to just fully try and utilize the best out of a free hit as you can. Don't be picking these sort of like fringe players, just go for these players that have the best fixtures and hope that it does obviously get that little bit lucky and definitely go your way. Because remember, there is luck in this game. We can spend hours looking at graphs and sheets and all this stuff, but at the end of the day, this still is a little bit of luck. Before we head into my transfer targets, let's take a look at how my team is lining up for this week then. Obviously, this week, it's not a bad week. It would have been a very easy roll, in my personal opinion, if SENESI was fit and available. But of course, now him picking up a suspension does actually mean that we're probably going to be looked to play Rodon or Anderson this week. So it doesn't really feel like a great week to have either of those playing with, of course, Chelsea and Manchester City, their opponents. Maybe I'll probably go for Anderson. I just think his DEFCON numbers are a lot better than, of course, Rodon's. But the rest of the team, as you can see here, barring, of course, any injuries within the Chelsea Arsenal game, is looking really good, really strong for this game week. So I've got kind of no real problems. The big issue for me is going to be SENESI. And I do think with some of the fixtures coming up, Chelsea, United, teams that know how to score, he probably is going to be a player that I would like to move out over the next few weeks, and is actually a player I have, of course, been looking to move on anyway with Bournemouth's poor defensive numbers in recent weeks. Also, Semenyo again, another blank for him, really frustrating me. The problem I do have is we are heading into a period where there are just so many games coming thick and fast. It does make it really hard to take out a guy when he is fit and available, is going to play 90 minutes every single week. That is the big problem, of course, looking to replace him. But if I want to go for potentially, another Arsenal defender like a Timber or some of the more premium defenders within the game, I am, of course, going to have to potentially take a look at it and maybe take out a Semenyo. So that is kind of where my head is at right now to potentially make those moves happen. Let's take a look then at the defenders that I am potentially looking to go for this game week. As you can see on here, we've got Timber, obviously playing in the game right now while I'm filming. He, of course, currently is the best player in the league out of all defenders for non-penalty penalty XGI. Arsenal's clean sheet data after this week as well is absolutely fantastic. If you watched the transfer targets video yesterday, you would have seen, Arsenal are the best side over the next 5 game weeks for projected clean sheets. Some absolutely mega numbers in there. Again, I really want to get another Arsenal defender in there, especially if that Saliba injury is kind of, just a short-term one. If it's a little bit more longer term, I might potentially swerve the Arsenal defense for now and come back to them in a few more game weeks time and potentially take a look at Declan Rice as my kind of Arsenal third spot within my side, as we've already got Bukayo Saka and of course David Raya as well. Nico O'Reilly has been really impressive and has actually got some of the best points per starts out of all players within the league. Again, though, the problem is we are heading into this very busy fixture period. City have Champions League games as well, kind of mixed in there with plenty of Premier League games, but the fixtures are good. Their clean sheet projections are pretty good over the next few weeks as well. So he would be a nice pick and has great points per start, but do I really want to be buying a pet roulette player ahead of a very busy festive schedule? Probably not. Doesn't seem like the best kind of, route for points for me in terms of my Senesi replacements. Of course, Timber, O'Reilly and Chalobah, who we'll speak about in a second, all would require me to make a further move with my 2 free transfers as well. So, that is going to kind of, potentially lead to me taking Semenyo out for some of the midfield replacements we'll look at in a second. But if I am to go for Chow or Van Heck, those moves would be completely for free. I really like the look of Chow. I'm actually kind of frustrated that he scored 2 goals. He was a player that I have been eyeing up for the past few weeks. I saw Newcastle had this good run of games coming up. They've got obviously decent home record as well. One of, interestingly, the best home records over the past 3 seasons under Eddie Howe as well. They've only managed to lose 10 home games over the past 3 full seasons as well. For the past 2 full seasons, they've also had the second best defensive record at home as well. So buying into a defender that can, of course, get some goals, hits defensive contributions, as you can see there, just under 50% of his games so far this season have led to him hitting defensive contributions. Newcastle's XG conceded is, pretty decent. Their projected clean sheet numbers as well over the next few weeks are very good. It is just a shame, of course, that he has gone and scored this week, because now it does feel like more like a knee-jerk reaction, but he is definitely a player I was already considering before, of course, his mega haul this week. Now, it is going to look probably more knee-jerky, but the fixtures are still there. The defensive contributions are still there. Newcastle are still a very good defense, and his minutes are very secure. Chalobah, I really like. He probably is the pick out of the Chelsea defenders right now just because of his minute security. Again, has that route to points with defensive contributions. Chelsea's numbers as well defensively have been pretty steady, and their fixtures over the next few weeks are also pretty decent alongside their projected clean sheets as well on the 11-5 model. As you can see, his points per game as well being pretty decent at that 5.5 million mark. Again, though, Chalobah, Timber and O'Reilly would all, of course, force me to make a further move with my side. Chow and Van Heck would actually just be able to do those for just the 1 free transfer and swap SENESI out. Van Heck as well, there's actually still some pretty decent fixtures coming up for Brighton, and defensively, they've really turned a corner in the past few weeks as well. Over their past, I think it's 4 Premier League games, they've managed to keep 3 clean sheets during that period. No European football, so pretty much I'm expecting Van Heck to play 90 minutes every single week, can hit those defensive contributions. Brighton's numbers have improved massively over the past few weeks as well for their clean sheet and expected goals conceded numbers. So again, he could just be another nice alternative at that 4.4. Right now, I want to obviously have a Newcastle player, and I do think Chow is probably going to be the defender I'm going to go for. Other than that, I would be very tempted with a Timber, get myself into that Arsenal defense, get myself into the best side for expected clean sheets over the next few weeks. Obviously, if I wanted to bring in one of the more premium defenders, as you can see on this list, it would require me to make an additional move, and that would be within the midfield section. And like I said, Semenyo would probably be the guy that I would be looking to replace. So we've got a whole host of midfield options here that would, of course, allow me to make those moves. Gakpo, again, probably feels a little bit knee-jerky, but I watched the PSV game. I've seen the highlights from the Liverpool game today. He does look like Liverpool's just best player. He very easily could have had 4 attacking returns. He's got the best non-penalty XGI as well in terms terms of Liverpool players, and also, interestingly, one of the best players in the league for non-penalty XGI amongst all midfielders as well. Liverpool, over the next 5 game weeks, have the best projected goal numbers as well, so having a slice of their attack does feel like something I really want to go for. Again, though, the problem is I would be taking out Semenyo, whose minutes are guaranteed, for Gakpo's, who very easily could be chopping and changing over this busy festive period. But I think with Slot probably hanging on by his kind of nails with his job at the moment, he probably will just go with a very similar lineup, and Gakpo will be maybe in there. Again, there probably is a little bit of recency bias and probably opponent bias as well. They have just played West Ham, who are unfortunately one of the worst sides for expected goals conceded and obviously keeping clean sheets as well. Their last clean sheet came back in match day 3, so they're not a side that are obviously notorious for keeping clean sheets. So it does maybe feel like some tougher opponents over the next few weeks, he might potentially struggle, but he could be a really nice, short-term pick. We get him out after we get the update for the AFCON fixtures and potentially look at him as a kind of, fun pick over the next few weeks. Minter is a guy that just consistently keeps delivering the goods, doesn't he, for his owners? If you've gone near him already, fair play. The Brighton fixtures do continue. The minutes have looked absolutely sensational. It's every single week. I check who's scored for Brighton, and I guarantee I'll see his name underneath it on FOTMob, and it just says assist Minter. Fair play if you've gone for him. He's definitely been a great pickup if you haven't already gone for him. 6.2 million as well. Very good value for what you get in there. Kieran Dewsbury-Hall. I mean, the goals have been definitely coming in over the past few weeks. Has some set piece share as well. Decent underlying kind of numbers for a 4.9 million midfielder. However, I think that would probably, I think I would rather try and stretch up to Anderson. I think there's just more repeatable actions with Anderson's points total. As you can see, 5 goal involvements for Dewsbury-Hall, only 2 for Elliot Anderson. However, like I said, it is those DEFCONs. In recent weeks, he's just been absolutely smashing them through the park as well. And I think for me, if I was to go for a player, I would go for Elliot Anderson, just because I feel like the DEFCON and what he brings to the side is a lot more of a repeatable action than, of course, what Dewsbury-Hall has been doing with kind of just some jammy goals and one wonder goal as well a few weeks ago against Manchester United. The other 2 options are Declan Rice and Bruno Guimaraes. Now, I do like Declan Rice as an option. He, of course, can hit those defensive contributions. His underlying XGI non-penalty is also pretty decent. He takes set plays for the side that are the best for expected goals from set plays as well. So he would be a very good move because he obviously does tick all the boxes. Arsenal have got some pretty good fixtures. Gets me back to free Arsenal as well, who in my mind are probably the best team in the league right now. Maybe, Chelsea, if they win this game, they're also up there as one of the best teams in the league. But I would always like to have the option of having double or triple of the best team in the league. It makes sense. Everything that Declan Rice has going for him really makes sense as well, with the DEFCON, with the set piece share, with, of course, Arsenal being the key side for set pieces in the league as well. Does feel like a really good option. Bruno Guimaraes, I would probably put him in and regret it, because he is just one of these guys, the kind of the DM guys where you have to play them every single week. Like your Caicedos, like your Elliot Andersons. These are the guys that you just put in and you just leave them there for the remainder of time, because it's very unpredictable where they're going to get their big double-digit hauls. They're going to tick along very, very nicely with their kind of, just DEFCON and just random assists and stuff like that. They're going to tick along very nicely. But when I owned Caicedo earlier in the season, I benched him for a few games. That's where he got him some mega hauls. Then when I played him, he got 2. It just feels like these picks, you have to play them every single week to fully get the main benefit out of them. Otherwise, for me, doesn't really feel like you are getting the full benefit out of these picks. That's just my opinion, and that is how I sit on these options. My top picks for this week are probably going to be Elliot Anderson, Minter, and Gakpo. They're probably going to be the 3 players I look for. Of course, if I don't go for Yuri and Timber, Declan Rice also does enter the fold. So let's put all this into Fantasy Football Hub and see how my team is lined up for game week 14. And of course, look to the future weeks where I might play my triple captainship. Okay, so here we are in Fantasy Football Hub then. Let's take a look at all the transfer plans I have outlined there. This would be option 1, where of course we would just go for Chow instead of SENESI this week. Gives us a decent defender. Tottenham, they're not great at the moment, to be honest. Newcastle as well, with their good home defensive record that we've seen in previous seasons. I'm all about that. Burnley then at home the week after, so back-to-back home fixtures. You would be expecting some decent points from Newcastle players there. Then they also head to Sunderland. Interestingly, a big derby, but of course, Sunderland at the moment are currently unbeaten at home. So I don't know how I really feel about that one. But we do have Anderson on the bench that week with a pretty decent fixture as well. Rodon also has a pretty decent game as well. So, you know, we do have options to potentially play other defenders that week if we really wanted to go for it. So that is option one. I don't mind that. Keep Semenyo in there. He is a 90-minute man. Not a bad fixture this week up against Everton. Option two, if we were to go for that one, would look something like this. So as you can see here, we have bought in Yuri and Timber, and we've dropped Semenyo, all the way down to Elliot Anderson. A great fixture this week up against Wolves. Then he's got Everton, but I think honestly the fixtures don't really matter with that young man. You're pretty much going to have to play him every single week to go for it, get the best out of him, play him pretty much every week, and just hope that he hits those defensive contributions. That's what you're going to have to do with those sort of players, is just play them every single week. Does get me back into that Arsenal defense. Again, some pretty decent fixtures coming up. Brentford, Villa, Wolves over the next few as well. That Wolves one, oh my God, I really think they'll keep a clean sheet in that one. I'd love to have double Arsenal defense for that period as well. And then the final option would be the little bit of kind of the fun pick, wouldn't it? It would be bringing in Chow for SENESI yet again, and then it would be removing Semenyo for Cody Gakpo. Obviously, this week they've got Sunderland at home, then they've got Leeds, then they've got Brighton. All sides I could see Liverpool very easily scoring against. And like I said, for the next few weeks, he could just be my fun pick. The problem is obviously the amount of fixtures, the rotation we might see with this Liverpool side. We could be left with egg on our face during that period, taking out a guy that is going to play regular 90 minutes for a player that very easily could get some early substitutions around the 60-minute mark. I do believe, though, at the moment, he is going to be a player that will see very good minutes, purely down to the fact of he's Liverpool's best player. He's their only real attacking kind of out threat that they're getting at the moment, and I do feel he'll probably see some decent minutes, while of course the other players just aren't performing. So right now I'm probably leaning most towards option one. I don't think taking out a 90-minute player before, of course, heading into this busy festive period is the correct move. However, I do like option three and option two. They're also kind of, you know, running through my mind. But I think for me right now, option one is going to be the play. Weeks where I've looked at potential triple captaincy. Well, we have a week this week, really, where we could do it. West Ham are dreadful for XG conceded. We have both Brian Mbeumo and Bruno Fernandes that potentially we could look at in terms of triple captaincy this week. I don't mind it. I also don't mind Bruno Fernandes for captaincy as well. We'll talk a little bit more about that on the team selection video tomorrow and discuss my potential captaincy options, because we've got Saka and Mbeumo, Fernandes. Even Mateta could definitely make his shout there. There's definitely this week could be a week where we go against Haaland, so maybe a triple captaincy this week. Game week 15, obviously Haaland's got Sunderland at home, pretty decent fixture. United players have Wolves as well, an absolutely cracking fixture there, so that also could be a decent week to go for it. Game week 16, probably not the week for Haaland, realistically. Saka maybe against Wolves, potentially could be the week, but this is after Champions League football, so we might see some rotation in that game for Arsenal. And then finally, the other week that people have earmarked, and probably the week I'm most likely to go for, is going to be game week 17 with Haaland up against West Ham. It's an absolutely cracking fixture and one I really would like to get a slice of that pie for. But like I said, there are other options over the next few weeks. Haaland obviously now 3 games without a goal, but it would not surprise me to see him back on the score sheet very soon. Obviously, if you did enjoy today's video, make sure you're hitting that like button. Make sure you're hitting subscribe as well. Like I said, my team selection video will be out tomorrow as well. We'll be running through captaincy, discussing obviously my final transfer plans, and I'll be also live for the deadline on Tuesday afternoon. So if you are new to the channel, make sure you're hitting subscribe with bell notifications on. And thank you very much for watching today, ladies and gentlemen, and good luck in FPL Game Week 14.